Welcome to the Wander Women's Collective podcast. I'm your host, Gracie Hins, and today I'm chatting with Emily Hawgood. She is a very impressive ultra runner. She placed fourth place in this year's Western States and also ran at UTMB and has had incredible times in both of these races historically. And it was just such a joy to get to sit down and chat with her. So thank you for listening.
So my name is Emily Hawgood and I'm from Zimbabwe. I am a professional trail runner for Adidas Terex. I kind of do everything, which is fun. It's kind of exciting that me and Gracie got connected through a friend from college. So excited to chat with you and kind of get to know, a little bit about you too.
So when you say you do everything, now I'm a little bit curious because I'm like, I feel like I have kind of like a broad overview of who you are. And I listened to your Trail Network podcast and I was like, that you seem so cool. Uh,
So my main job is I'm a professional athlete. So get to run and train around the world, which is amazing. And I coach too. That's what I studied in college. So I have a small group of athletes. Yeah, I feel like I figured out a few things the other day. I managed to put gas in my diesel car, so I'm a mechanic too on the side.
oh my
Just
gosh.
everything.
Oh my gosh. How did that turn out for you?
Luckily, thank goodness. Okay, I went full. So I'm from Zimbabwe and grew up kind of in a time where, there wasn't fuel or we had to, get fuel or travel with fuel, those sort of things.
Mhm.
So I'm very good at using a siphon pipe
Mhm.
and and quick thinking, I think. I just luckily put gas in the car, realized that I was putting the wrong gas in my car and stopped, didn't turn the engine on or anything, walked to go get a siphon pipe and a fuel container. Luckily had a toolbox in my van so could disconnect the tank from the pipe to put the gas in and get through the anti-siphon valve
Oh my
and
gosh.
siphon out gas. And luckily it runs and it's doing great.
Oh my gosh. That's a good one to keep in the back pocket. I like put a bad tank of gas in my van a couple weeks ago and I
Yeah.
couldn't figure out what was going on at first. And now I'm like, I should have just like siphoned it all out immediately.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I was
you
like
should have.
stalling out on the freeway and I was like, what's wrong?
Oh.
And then I was like, oh, I think it was a bad tank of gas, but it happened. It
Did
happened.
did you get it sorted?
I think so. It was running well enough. And I
Mm.
think I still need to replace the fuel filter. My van's in
Mm.
Salt Lake, and so I've been like out and about with work the last couple weeks, and so it's been on like the very bottom of my to-do list. And so yeah, I think after I put a new tank of gas in, it was fine, but it seems like it's
Okay.
like that filter still needs to get replaced. So yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta put on the mechanic hat and get that done.
Yeah, you got to do that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, when I was chatting with Jeff, it was so fun talking to him about you because he was
Oh.
just like so cute. He was like, Emily's the coolest person ever. I was like, it was so funny when he was talking about like how you ended up at the College of Idaho and how you had no idea that you were gonna end up there. How did like what happened with that?
Yeah, that was a crazy story too. I put all my stuff on, like all my information on College Board because I'm from Zimbabwe. Had only come over here to the East Coast like a couple years before 2011, I think, and I was
Hmm.
coming over here 2013 for college. And anyway, so put all my information online, and College Board it throws out like 1,000 different colleges that kind of match up with what you're looking for, and literally randomly was picking on colleges and universities and reading. And the University of Idaho popped up, and I clicked on University of Idaho, and it was pretty was kind of what I was looking for. I wanted to study agriculture at the time, so definitely it seemed amazing.
Hmm.
I immediately went to Google and Googled Idaho, and the Stanley Mountains come up when you put it in, and I was like, oh
Hmm.
my gosh, that looks beautiful! Like it's so
Hmm.
amazing. I mean, Moscow's a long ways away from Stanley, Idaho, but I was like, oh well, it's the same state, right? And yeah, so I ended up applying that way. And somehow in the mix up of everything, I was trying to get in contact with the cross country coach at U of I, had emailed a few times, never heard back, kept emailing, and somehow got a hold of Pat McCurry, who was actually the coach at the College of Idaho, which I didn't know about. and was asking him
Okay.
about like cross and could I join the team, blah blah blah. And he ended up writing back and saying to me like, "Hi, like, great to meet you. Are you trying to get on? Are you trying to go to the College of Idaho or the University of Idaho?" And that just sent like a light bulb in my brain. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Ran back to my email and I'd like half applied to the University of Idaho and half applied to the College of Idaho and had got my acceptance letter at the College of Idaho, not the university, but hadn't realized that I'd applied and just kind of assumed they were the same place. So that's how I ended up at the college.
That's pretty funny. I feel like
Yeah.
that actually makes so much sense though, and I feel like I do that all the time of like mixing, especially with like Oregon and Idaho schools. I'm like, I swear it's the same. And then all of the colleges are like in smaller towns too, so it's just like I feel like it kind of goes in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, yeah. And then you get, and like they're all done by their acronyms too. So it's U of I, C of
Yeah.
I, CWI. No wonder it's confusing.
Oh my gosh, I'm like they all look the exact same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's funny. Did you end up making it up to Stanley quite a bit during college?
Yeah, quite a bit in college and actually a ton now. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, so spent a lot of time up in Chalice, Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of an hour away from there in Sun Valley. So, yeah, that
Yeah.
area. I love it.
Sun Valley is so fun, and they have such amazing
Mhm.
trails.
Yeah, so cool. I can't believe the system. Like every time I go there, there's a new trail I haven't discovered.
Do you have like a kind of pattern of how you split up your year and like where you're at, or does it kind of change like every year with different races? And like, how do you kind of like look at your year as a whole with all of the things going on?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's really nice having a spot out in Cali just with the warm weather. So I can come out here, especially kind of in the winter. So spend
Mm-hmm.
more of my time out here in the winter. I'm not really a snow bunny. Um and yeah, and kind of find races around here to do and kind of get to
Hmm.
know the community and get really involved out here. And then as soon as it gets warm, I kind of head up to the mountains. I love shed season and
Hmm.
I mean peak season. So as soon as the mountains open up that we can start climbing, it's really fun to be out there and spend some big days out there. I
Hmm.
run Western States each year. And
Hmm.
so being out here, I'm like 20 minutes from the finish line, so I can get out on the course quite a bit for the first part of the year and really train hard out here. Yeah, and kind of take my recovery time out in Idaho, little dashes up there to
Hmm.
see friends and stuff. And then go over to Europe, have done UTMB for the past 4 years, I think, for one of the
Hmm.
races over there. And so tend to spend like 3 to 5 weeks over there in the summer too, which is nice, and then come back and kind of bounce between Idaho and Cali. And then hunting season, I love being up in Idaho too. And then actually for Christmas, I tend to go home or to the southern hemisphere and get away from the cold weather for a bit too. So that's generally, but it does kind of mix up with races and team camp and things like that.
That sounds like a good life for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like that all kind of came about pretty naturally, or did you kind of have to put a lot of thought into, I don't know, I feel like it's just like it's funny how we kind of like look at our lives through time and like when we first start doing something, it all just feels kind of like unnatural or kind of like questioning like, should I be doing this? Should I be here this time of year? And then as the years go on, it's like, oh no, like this is just like my life rhythm.
Yeah, I definitely think it's such a like you just have to be relaxed in it for sure because it is easy to it's really nice to have a place where you can get in a routine and have your space and have you know a gym and things like that, and the
Hmm.
more you can kind of be kind to yourself in that way, like balance it out. I learned pretty quick in the first couple years, like being away from home for too long or being away from wherever you want to be. I have a cat, and so she's kind of become home too. So that's kind of nice, like, and making sure I balance the time out because I think even when you're around good people and traveling and at other people's homes and feeling great at home and stuff, it can be a little draining to like kind of not have your own space or just like
Hmm.
uh be grounded and yeah, be open to, you know, kind of just yeah, I don't know, even for me, like get up and play with Ochi in the morning and have coffee and do my puzzles and go train and go to the gym and stuff. Like it's so nice having that too. Like as much as it is nice to travel the world and get to do things, it's also really good on the body to have that space or kind of routine and just do its thing and feel at home and stay up with your mobility and things like that. Because traveling can be really hard. So even like traveling home, coming back can be tough. Just like on the body, just sitting on a plane for 16 hours or whatever, those sort of things. So it definitely, yeah, I think you have to make peace with it. But like it's good to be in one spot for a long time, or not a long time, but for periods. And then it's fun to go about and do stuff. And then I've been thinking about this lately, because a lot of times we can travel and say like, oh, this is such a cool adventure and post on Instagram, 100 pictures and stuff. It's been really fun. I've had a couple friends that I've been like, we've both been kind of taking random pictures of the day and like sharing them. And I've been super, super grateful for that because I've kind of found the adventure in wherever I'm at,
Mhm.
and in the day. And that can just be like right here or at home or, wherever I'm at or traveling. And that's been kind of a nice way to be like, you can be an adventure wherever you're at, like not
Mhm.
just when you're actually like doing some big trip, which is, yeah, really special. And I hope I can keep that mindset.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's so big. And if you can, like, yeah, if you can, I feel like it sounds cheesy, but if you can wake up every day and just like see it as the gift that it is, then like there's no better way to go through life.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I mean, you spend a lot of time on the road too. Do you find kind of the same situation?
I do. I feel like it's funny because every week is so different for me,
Mhm.
where like every week is usually, it depends on the month, but like I end
Okay.
up being out on big projects, or like I'll have like 1 week on this project and then 1 week on this project and then 1 week on this project. And then I'll take like my usual work schedule is like working like 2 or 3 weeks during the month and then having like a week off.
Mhm.
And so I feel like I'm kind of able to balance it out with that of like, okay, I can kind of like have a chaotic week or two and then like have a balanced week where I can just like run and ski and rest and cook. But then also like, especially like with the Airbnb thing versus like a hotel, like I found like I have to just be able to take care of myself day to day of like,
Mhm.
okay, if I can be in an Airbnb and like come home after work and actually cook dinner rather than like go out and eat, yeah, it's fun to go out and eat and like you can take your pictures of your great pizza or whatever, but like actually like building in the space to like have a spot to like drink my coffee in the morning and then like
Mhm.
cook my food in the evening and go to bed at 9 p.m. every night.
Yeah,
Like
that's perfect.
yeah, like it makes such a difference. And then I'm out on the water most of the time. So like this week we're out in the Connor, Washington, which is just like so pretty
Wow.
and so stunning. And so just like
Yeah.
being able to like take a moment during the workday and just be like, okay, like this is so sick. I'm in such a cool spot and like not a lot of people
Yeah.
get to do this. So even if you're
Yeah.
working and like your brain is a little bit scattered, just being able to kind of take it and just be like, okay, wow, like this is exactly where I want to be and like what I want to be doing. So
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's exactly like you nailed it. We get to kind of live our dreams.
Mhm.
That's our job, is what we
Mhm.
get to do. And it's kind of special that we found something we love so much. So definitely taking that minute to like fully appreciate it, but also just like soak it all up and, even share it, share pictures of being on the water. It's so cool that you get to do that every day.
It is. It is so cool. Yeah. Do you feel like you had a moment like in your career where you were like, oh my gosh, wow, like I kind of am like living out one of my dreams? Or did because I feel like I kind of need like a little bit of an overview. I know that you started with running, or no, you started swimming and then running and then got into like Ironmans for a little bit and then like are a superstar trail runner.
The Scots are the best. They told you everything. Yeah, so came from Zim and I mean grew up doing all the sports in school. It's kind of cool. Like it's really a part of our kind of curriculum is for all the
Hmm.
kids to play sports. So did kind of everything. Loved running like kind of from a young age and swimming. And then came over to college, had tried to reach out to the track cross country coach, and he was kind of like skeptical, like had international students before that didn't really understand what it meant to be kind of on the college team, like the commitment, and you're going to be at practice every day and do your summer training, all that type of stuff. And so he was like, get over here, we'll meet and chat and see if it fits. And when I got over here, he was busy with like cross country camp and all the preseason type stuff and wasn't really around, so could never meet up with him. And then, but was like desperate. I mean, came from Zimbabwe, didn't know anyone, and I just kind of gravitate towards sports and like athletes because I always feel we have kind of the same mindset and attitude, and everyone's excited for life, which is kind of fun. And so I was like, oh, if I can get connected to a team, I think I'll settle in way quicker than if I'm trying to do this on my own. And so, yeah, I met with a swim coach actually. And she, in our meeting, had an Ironman keyring on her keys. And so got chatting with her. Like, she was like, yes, please come on our team. Like, we really want swimmers. I was a breaststroker. So she was excited about that. And then we kind of got chatting about Ironmans, and yeah, she ended up roping me into doing Ironmans in the summer. I was so excited because I'd watched one when I was, I think, like 16, and I remember being at the finish line, and you watch everyone come through, all the paraplegics and like I mean amazing athletes too and everything. And I just remember saying that day like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do one of these one day. And so getting to do them with her was exciting. And so did that in the summer in the summers, which was fun, and kind of thought that would be my sport, like that I would get to follow. But I kept missing Kona, which is the national or the international like championship, by like a spot.
Oh my
each time I did one. I know, but it ended up being like the biggest blessing too, because then what I ended up doing I ended up swimming in college and then doing cross country and outdoor track. I didn't do indoor because it clashed with swim. So that was kind of fun getting to do, all three sports. I kind of have that opportunity. I never would have got that at U of I at a big school. So C of I was special in that way to make it work. And then, then I ended up doing my final Ironman when I graduated college, and kind of was on the path of like, okay, I'm gonna like figure out grad school. And he kind of told me like, oh yeah, I coach high school track, and then my son and a couple other athletes I coach run in the mountains. And my heart just kind of jumped. I was like, I mean, I'm from Flatland, Zimbabwe, but the idea of being in the mountains all day and not having to deal with like cars or a bunch of people or anything just like really excited me. And I don't know, like I just met him and I was like, can I do that? And yeah, I kind of just fell in love with it from the beginning. And so that's how I ended up getting into it. And yeah, I've just been reflecting on this lately, kind of the blessing of like how I got into it, and then kind of getting connected and pretty quickly like through my coach, and got connected with the Scott in the national running team, and Martin Gafuri, the manager there at the time, like believed in me. I mean, he had never met me either, and so took me on kind of as a brand ambassador. And then I ended up joining them as a athlete, which was amazing, kind of a really cool way to get introduced to the sport and just have a team, people I just looked up to and admired so much. And then got scouted onto the Terex team where I'm at right now, and I love it. I think I've been with them 3 years, 4 years, 4 years. Yeah, and luckily like have been with them, and so that's kind of my overview.
Love how like naturally it progressed, and it just seems like there was like so much curiosity and you were able to just like see that and like follow it.
Yeah, I definitely think, and I remember your question now before I started telling you everything, but kind of, yeah, that feeling of like how things evolved into, and like you said, just kind of saying yes to things and being aware of like what could, the doors that opened. Meeting so many people was amazing, just like getting to make connections, and really felt Adidas just released a kind of our like hashtag, our theme or whatever for the past 2 years has been, or this year and last year was you got this. And
Mm-hmm.
this year's all about like you never do it on your own. And it's so
Mm-hmm.
true. Like
Mm-hmm.
you, the people you meet can open so many doors for you, and just it's just so cool to live life like together. And that's been really fun. I really felt like that's been kind of my guiding stone, like people taking chances on me too, and like me, trusting them and going all in and hopefully supporting their journeys as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it's been really special, and that's kind of been the like comfort, but as well as the like guiding force.
Well, and it sounds like you have, like right now, where do you feel like a lot of your community is, just like in the general running world and like in California and then like community in Idaho?
I
Yeah.
feel
And
like
then
I
is
have
your
so
family still in Zimbabwe?
yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so all my family's in Zimbabwe, so I have all my community back there, and it was super fun at Christmas time because got to go home and finally, like, people are moving back from traveling the world for
Mm-hmm.
college and stuff. So a lot of like friends are now in one place back there, so that was really cool to meet up with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have friends all over the world. Grew up in a community, where people you leave because it's such a small country. There's a big wide world out there, so we all got split pretty quick. I mean, either, people were leaving from the age I was just making friends in school and they would leave the next year, or things like that. So I've had friends all around
Mm-hmm.
the world for a long time, which is really, I think it's really cool because I get to like see a lot of the world just through my friends' eyes. Uh, so have all of them. And then, yep, up in Idaho, I have so much community. All my friends from school, but their families now too, which is really fun. Watching all those kiddos grow up. And then through the Terex team too, there's 45 of us athletes, and we're all around the world as well. So everyone there, and then yep, through all the community, like I've made through running through all the different race series and the community, and then here out in Cali, the same kind of through the running community, and then actually have like some friends from Zimbabwe over here too, which is fun to get to see them.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So little bits and pieces everywhere.
How long were you at home this winter?
Yeah, so I arrived. Well, I was supposed to arrive Christmas Eve, but I forgot. I mismatched on my ticket and didn't look at the time. Arrived on Christmas Day, but it was actually like the best thing ever. Yeah, actually, traveling on holidays is kind of a good idea because a lot of people don't travel. So
Yeah.
it was super great. It was super smooth, and yeah, lots of space and everything.
Mhm.
Anyway, so right on Christmas Day, and then usually for Christmas, my mom does a big Christmas Eve dinner. So we did that kind of a day later, but that was pretty special. And then actually we usually just hang out by the pool and outside because it's hot over
Mhm.
Christmas. So we just hang out by the pool, and that's kind of our Christmas tradition, is just spending time out together in the sunshine and eating all the leftover food
Yeah. Oh my God.
from
That sounds
Christmas Eve.
amazing. Yeah. And do you have siblings?
Just one brother. He's in Zimbabwe too. He actually has taken over the farm, so he lives out there and runs the farm. My dad's still there as the most wise person.
Mhm. Well, and did you think about going? You were saying that you initially were thinking about the agriculture route. So were you
hmm
thinking about like doing school and then going back and being on the farm?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I mean, that was kind of my goal. It was funny because when we were growing up, we went through some like land reform things in Zimbabwe.
Hmm.
And that was kind of unsettling as kids because you never really knew if you were gonna be on the farm or not, like from day to day. And so my dad really grilled into us growing up, like make sure you have a backup career in case,
Mm.
farming doesn't work out or whatever. So if you want to farm, like that's fine, but like make sure you have something else. And I kind of was like, I just want to farm. Like that's what I want to do. And then, I mean, obviously going to the wrong school, they didn't have really an agricultural program at C of I, so kind of fell into trying to find something else. I started out with environmental studies and just like didn't enjoy it. So
Mhm.
shifted over to like psychology, and then I was gonna do I really wanted to work with autistic kids. And then, yeah, actually then took a winter course in nutrition.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
my professor, Matt Lay, he's an endurance runner. And I think I might have actually taken that class with Caitlin. I'm not, I can't remember. We were definitely in classes together after that. But anyways, took his class and like was one of those classes where I never wanted it to end like every single day. I think it was like a 3 hour class because it was a winter course. And
Mhm.
every single day I just wanted it to carry on, would chat to Matt a ton and hear about all his running and stuff and just like really fell in love with it. And I was like, why
Mhm.
am I not studying this? If I love this so much, why am I not doing this? So we did kind of a 360 and changed majors and ended up doing exercise physiology as my major. Yeah. So kind of got away from the farming career choice for a long, pretty quick actually.
And then you did your master's in, was it high endurance? What was it? Or not high endurance, high high altitude endurance. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So high altitude exercise physiology. So pretty much what happens to the body when you're up in the mountains or yeah, up at high elevation.
Right. Yeah. That seems like such a fun, cool, like niche degree to be able to have.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, in all honesty too, it kind of was guided to me like this about following like your footsteps is I needed so as an international to be able to be over in the States. Every time like you apply for a job, if you're an international, the employer has to prove why you're worth hiring or why you're more qualified
Mm-hmm.
to hire over a US citizen. And so I really needed to get into a niche field to be able to kind of have that qualification looking forward.
Well, and then so then you started coaching as well. What kind of like sparked that? I feel like especially as people who grew up as athletes, I feel like coaching makes so much sense because it's like you've been coached for so long. And so
Yeah.
taking and being able to weave it into your own coaching practice makes a lot of sense. But what was it that you were like, okay, like I really want to do this?
Yes, actually, right after college or right out of college, I was super sad to leave college. I loved college. I loved being with my friends. I loved being on the team. And so, actually, the coach at C of I, Austin Bastariccia, he was like, "Do you want to come back and coach and be an assistant coach?" And so I was like, "Yes, I don't want to leave." And so I
Mhm.
actually went back and coached for Caitlin's senior year out there and loved it. I mean, obviously, like then fell into the career running, but kind of wanted to be able to do two things. And then obviously being at grad school, having those qualifications, it was so cool being able to coach, like learn something in the classroom, then go outside and actually run and put it into practice, and then also like coach and help other people and
Mhm.
see like those things and how you responded like through my athletes too. And so yeah, it kind of all just guided into itself. So it was just like the best opportunity and also being able to yeah help other people like love running or I've had a lot of different athletes, but it's been really fun to kind of see what makes them tick and how they can be like supported in the best way to do their best as well. I definitely didn't want to do like PT or something because I figured you're always dealing with injured athletes. And I'm a grumpy injured athlete, so I just I was like, I probably shouldn't do PT because I I
Yeah.
don't want to be dealing with grumpy athletes all the time. Coaching's in a much nicer area. You do deal with grumpy athletes sometimes, but they're not always grumpy.
Have you had any like periods of time that you've had to take off like a couple months with injuries?
Actually, in college, my sophomore year,
Hmm.
I put out my hips, ended up catching a nerve in my back, and like couldn't run.
Mm.
So ended up missing state or not, I can't remember what it's called. Nationals and conference and nationals, ended up missing them, couldn't run. I mean, I couldn't even sit in the classroom. Like it was so painful the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty scary. But like the biggest lesson I learned from that is just like how important it is to like do mobility and strength and all that stuff. I'm kind of like, as much as it sucked at the time, right now I'm so grateful because I never skimp on that stuff anymore because I just realize how important it is.
Mm.
Yes, I took a bunch of time off, but I mean, it worked out because I just went to swim season earlier. So that
Mm.
was really helpful kind of getting through that. Like, yes, I couldn't run, but at least I could still swim. Have you had any?
Nothing too bad. I had some issues with my hips like more in high school. And so it's kind of just like what you're saying about like being on top of it. And like it all seems like I had a few issues with it like actually in like January, but I don't know if you've done like any like heard of like Nuka, like with your like it's like the
No.
very top of your spine, but it's like this chiropractic practice that like their theory is that like if your atlas is off and like it's
Mm,
like out of alignment, then like your whole body will be pulled to one side. And
mm,
so I ended up like having my atlas out and like the whole right side of my body will like pull if
mm.
I am like out of my adjustment. And so it usually like
Oh,
doesn't happen very often, but then when it does happen, it's just like crazy because like my hips are off, like my one leg is
yeah.
shorter than the other, and then like my shoulders are like all messed up, my neck and like my
Mm.
lymph node like inflames, and then my jaw gets really tight and like locks up. So that's the only thing that I've had.
Exactly what you're saying, because that's what I always say, like all the time. Like when my
Yeah.
hips are out, I'm like, it just feels like I have one longer leg than the other.
It's terrible. It's like the worst feeling ever.
It's
And
the
I like,
worst.
yeah, I had my one chiropractor, like, he retired recently. And so
Mhm.
then I was like, oh my gosh, I have to find a new chiropractor. And so like all of the month of like December, I was like, okay, like I just probably can't really run that much. Like everything just feels
Oh,
bad because like the one hip is off. And then I like finally saw somebody in January and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm okay again.
feel
But I always
better.
just feel like a little bit crazy when I'm talking to people
Ah,
about it because I'm like, it's just like it's there, it's a thing, but like,
ah,
it's not like any like muscular like tear
yeah.
bone that's broken. But yeah, it's important.
Yeah, that's so important. That's so interesting about the your atlas and stuff. I have to do some research into
Yeah.
that. That's really cool. For me, so sitting on the plane, I think you like
Yeah.
slouch and you like, oh, often. So I'm pretty sure that's what happens is that you put something
Yeah.
out. I always just thought I've kind of, yeah, adjusted the hips, but I definitely even like now I feel so, like through the whole spine, I feel so much more like in
Mhm.
alignment and supported and everything. So that makes sense that I mean, maybe it does actually start like at the
Maybe.
base of the spine, maybe. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely look
See,
into
I'm
it.
learning so much from you.
Yeah. Okay, what are some things that you are like looking forward to on your calendar? I know you said doing Western States, training for that. And then are you doing UTMB again?
Yeah, which will be fun. And then coming up in March, we have a team camp. All of us are going together to headquarters over in Germany. And then we go to, yeah, and then we go to one of the Spanish islands,
Mm-hmm.
Fuerteventura, off Africa there. And so we're there for a week too. And then I'm actually racing over on another island called Tenerife. So I'm excited to get over there. I've never been to the island before. And then yeah, and then come back and I actually race canyons 100K, which is right before States. Well, like 8 weeks before States, but
Mm-hmm.
that'll be really fun too. I'm excited. It's part of the same course as States and then parts, different parts too, which is cool. And yeah, and then I mean, obviously summer's always exciting. It's so fun to go in the mountains and I don't know. Yeah, summer's like the best. That's why I spend so much time in the southern hemisphere or down here.
Mhm.
Keep the
Mhm.
summer alive. Yeah, and then yeah, climb and everything and then UTMB and hunting season. Oh, I'm excited for the whole year.
What are some things that you feel like you do that mindset behind like racing and training and like things that kind of keep you? Because I mean, like if you're doing a lot of the same thing, it's like keeping it fun, keeping it fresh, keeping it new, and just like, yeah, like general like mindset tips and tricks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to be honest, lots of it is not new and
Hmm.
fun and exciting type. Like it's the everyday thing, but I think I see the value in kind of doing the monotony of it. And I've never, I mean, I went to boarding school, so like we had a routine. We got up at 6:30 every morning. 6 o'clock every morning. Had breakfast 6:30. So I
Yeah.
kind of grew up in that environment and never like if I had to do the same thing every single day, like it was like, oh, okay, you're running 60 minutes every day. I would be okay with that. And I know that sounds so weird because a lot of people say that to me and I kind of struggle with that with my athletes sometimes because I'm like, yeah, okay, do this weight routine and do it for the, whole year, twice a week and we switch it up, we just switch up like number of reps and things like that. and they're like blown away. They like don't, well, aren't we supposed to change something? I'm like, no, we're doing exactly what we need to do. Why do we need to change it? Yes, I love that part. I actually like doing the same thing. Once you kind of figure out your formula for what works, it's been really cool to kind of keep it. And so like that's kind of probably my biggest piece of advice to people is like if you like know what makes you tick, you know, you really love what you do, and as long as you can make your body, because you know, like if your body's out, it's not fun, it's not comfortable, you're not going to be able to do what you love. And so doing those little things that maybe are the same boring things is going to help you do that. So whatever plays into that formula, like do those things, do those things a lot, and carry that joy into like actually like going for your run or things like that. And kind of just, again, like if you've ever lost the ability to do what you love, I think when you get it back, you super savor it. And so trying to find the joy in all the things, even, I mean, definitely some days are hard to get out, you know, maybe the weather's bad or things like that. But the more you can be grateful that you get to do it, not that you have to, is really cool. And like, I mean, most of these things too, especially with sport, or you choose to do it. And if you can't choose to do it with joy every day, like, why are you doing it?
Yeah, you can just not do it.
Yeah. Maybe switch it up for a bit. I think that's what I loved about getting to do all the sports growing up, is that I tried everything else, and then kind of falling into trail running. Like I love it. I love it so much, and I don't like have anything else I really want to do. Like I don't feel like, oh, well, what about if I could be a softball player? Like, nah, I kind of tried that like when I was little, whatever, didn't find as much joy in it. So I love that I have like found my path right now and can really fully be here, because I'm not like, oh, what about if I tried this or tried that? Like, no, I really love what I've chosen. Really find joy in your everyday. You know, and if you can't find the joy, like try and create it. I think there's so much good in the world. Sometimes it's like a conscious decision to look for the good, and that's not saying that everything has to be, you know, sunshine and roses, but like if you find little joys in where you're at or what you get to do or who you're with, like really find the true joy and find your true joy. Don't get caught up too much in like what's going on in the world, and that kind of be your guiding compass. I don't think you can go wrong.
That is wonderful, wonderful thing to leave people with. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and please stay tuned for more episodes. They're released every Monday. So yeah, keep listening, and I hope you enjoyed this.